All right, welcome to metric system conversions. So, for those of you who watched the Fahrenheit and Celsius video, you may remember that we talked about how Celsius is a unit of measurement for temperature that is used all around the world, and only in a few countries, including the United States, do we use a different system of the Fahrenheit scale. Well, similarly, when it comes to measuring length, capacity, like how much something can hold, and then mass and weight, every other country in the world, except for United States, Liberia, and Myanmar, all use the metric system. So let's take a look at what the metric system looks like compared to what we typically use in the United States, which is called the customary, or sometimes even the US customary system. So if we're looking at units of measurement, for length, the metric system would use, or goes, 1 kilometer would be equal to 1,000 meters, 1 meter equal to 1,000 millimeters, 1 meter is also equal to 100 centimeters, and 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So that's how you'd use a ruler. That's how you'd measure like how far you're walking it with the metric system. Now the customary system is what you typically see in the United States. 1 mile is also equal to 5,280 feet. 1 mile is also equal to 1,760 yards. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. We're pretty used to seeing this. Before we go, I want you to stop and notice. What do you observe about the differences here between the metric system and the customary system? All right, let's look at capacity. For metric, you'd see something like 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. In customary, you would see 1 gallon equals 4 quarts, 1 quart equals 2 pints, 1 pint equals 2 cups, 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. And stop and note here your observations. All right, and last but not least, mass and weight can be measured with the metric system in like 1 kilogram would equal 1,000 grams. 1 gram would equal 1,000 milligrams. And then the customary system, you might see or hear more of like 1 ton being equal to 12,000 pounds. 1 pound being equal to 16 ounces. So taking a moment to observe, you might have noticed that the metric system uses place value similarly to how we use golden beads, right? We have the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, right? It's more of kind of moving a decimal, moving the comma over, excuse me. And then when we look at customary numbers, they're a little bit harder to predict just at a glance and a little bit harder to memorize. You also might notice that the words in the metric system for length all have the root word meter. For capacity, they all have the root word liter. And for mass and weight, they all have the root word gram. Whereas in customary, we see some different language going on here, right? Miles, feet, yards, inches, gallons, quarts, cups. It's a little bit harder to predict. Now let's take a look at the metric system in action. Here I have measured out a piece of yarn to 1 meter. Here we have 1 decimeter. And here we have 1 centimeter and 1 millimeter. When you're using a ruler, we've often explored the inches side or the customary side. But if you flip most rulers over, you'll notice that the metric system is on the other side. Notice that mm stands for millimeter. So I tried to cut this as small as I possibly could. This is about 1 millimeter. Pretty close. It's very hard to get that small. So 1 meter is equal to about 10 decimeters. So let's look over here. If we took the decimeter and placed it along, about 10 decimeters would fit in 1 meter. Deci. Kind of reminds me of deca. Decanomial or decade or you know it, say it.
Decagon.
Decagon. Yes. All right. What about, so if decimeter is 10 decimeters in 1 meter, what do you think centimeters might be? How many centimeters do you think might be in 1 meter? If you guessed 100, you are correct. Kind of like century, right? We've seen that before. All right. And then millimeters. How many millimeters do you think might be in 1 meter? Has to be a lot, right? 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. So our follow-up is going to be, there we go. Our follow-up is going to be to convert, let's say we have 1 meter, we know, is equal to 10 decimeters. This we know. But if we had 14 meters, how many decimeters would that be? How are we going to figure that out? Well, there's 10 times as many decimeters in 1 meter, right? So we could do 14 times 10 equals 140. You might also like to look at it like this. 14 times 10. Oops. Oopsies, I didn't really leave a lot of room. Sorry. Well, that is just the smallest little thing I could possibly do, huh? But guess what? I'm going to teach you a trick. Since this is a lot of work, when we're just working with bases of 10, all you need to do is look at the zeros. 14, add a 0, 140. Let's try, oops, sorry, fill in the blank. Let's try something else. So you have 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So if we had, let's say, 23 meters, it would equal how many centimeters? Where there's 100 times amount. So we have 23 times 100. And we can use our quick trick. How many zeros? 1, 2. 2,300. Also known as 2,300. Let's try one more. And we'll do 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. Or, let's say we have 7 meters. We could convert that to how many millimeters? What are we going to do? 7 times 1,000 equals 7,000 millimeters. So there are 7,000 millimeters in 7 meters. On the Google Drive, you'll find the worksheet. It's called Metric System Conversions. Enjoy.